Good morning. This is Scott Cos 20. The I guess the owner, head man, whatever you want to call me, of Sports Card Forum. If you are watching live, I appreciate you taking the time of being here. If you're watching this on YouTube after it's been uploaded, again, I thank you for taking the time to review the video of this particular discussion. The format of how I want to go through this is I want to talk about some of the things that some of the changes that have already occurred within SCF since I've taken over since this in the last month. Some of the changes that we're going to be looking to make, as well as just doing a little bit of review of some of the things that have happened, some of the things that are going on. Um, there's a lot of different things that may come up during that point. What I do ask is if you are watching live, I am gonna ask that questions are held till the end. If you do have questions that you want to pop into the chat windows as we go on, by all means, go ahead and fire your questions off. But I'm not going to answer any of the questions until after I've gone through everything, because I got a few things I do want to go into and get into. First, I want to start with some of the changes that you may have already noticed. The first thing I want to talk about is the way we communicate as a staff to you as the member. We've leveraged and we've utilized mass PMs in the past. To that end, we've gotten some pushback from people saying they'd rather not get the mass PMs. So what I started doing earlier this week, and I think it's worked quite well in a couple different instances, with the site-wide contests, and what I'll talk about in a moment on the pricing and the buy and sell threads. The users have noticed that right at the top of the page, and it's something I have the ability of making it a persistent, where it's always there. I have the ability of making it dismissible. There's a few different things I can go with it. There's different ways I can target those particular notices that are at the top. They're kind of less intrusive than the announcements, and they're not going to fill up your PM box. So that's one of the things that we're going to start to look at doing a little bit more actively and proactively as messages and things are coming along. With that, one of the things that you would have noticed from the notes this past week would have been the site-wide contests. For example, the guess the final price contest on eBay. The first week we did it, I think we had maybe 20, 25 members that put in a guess. This week, once we added in that announcement, the notice at the top, it's grown to over 100 members that have put in a guess. So from a messaging standpoint, that's where the notices have really seen a big impact. We've seen some impact in other places as well. Other things that are just happening. So the notices are the biggest piece. The site contests, we've got guess the final price. We've got the straight for the card cash that's running right now. And then Andrew also put up basically a basketball pool where you pick 4 teams, and whatever the last number of their final score of each game is, it's almost like a bingo. And once you get all 40 numbers the 10 numbers from your 4 teams off, first one to get it is the winner, and then there's gonna be some other prizes along with that. So I encourage you to take a look at the contest forum. It's up towards the top, right below the announcements. There's going to be more contests that are going to be being put in there. There's going to be more ways of earning card cash. I'll talk about card cash in a little bit, and we'll take it from that standpoint. The other thing that you may have already noticed is the relaunching of our writing team. That actually started earlier this week. There's been 2 articles that have been posted. One is about the Winter Classic that would happen in Boston last weekend. And then there's also a movie review of Star Wars. So if you've not seen the movie yet, I don't recommend you reading that particular article, only because it might spoil things for you. I have not read it yet, only because I don't want to know anything about the movie until I go see it myself. So that has restarted. If you are interested in the writing team itself, there is a posting in the announcements forum as well on the qualifications and some of the prerequisites that we do need for our writers. If you have any questions about that, you can reach out to Phoebes888, and she'll be glad to answer any of the questions that you have regarding the writing team. The other big change that happened this week, and it caused a lot of pain, some applauding, some pain, is that SCF is now going to start to enforce pricing on all buy-sell threads. This is something that is really, it's industry, I don't want to say industry-wide, but really anywhere that you go, whether it's eBay, whether it's another forum, they're requiring people to put prices on what they want for their cards. Now, I understand if you have a higher end card, it's hard to put a value on it. But at the same time, there's been a number of issues with people in the past not putting prices on there, changing their prices, and people just bypassing it. The biggest argument I've seen from people this week on basically saying it's a bad call is they like having the flexibility. Well, if you go to eBay, you go anywhere, the card's priced. You know where you're starting, and that's where we are as well. Most forums require pricing on cards. We're going to do the same. So if you're a seller and you're not on board with that, I apologize, but this one is not changing anytime soon. With that said, there's going to be some more changes I do want to discuss and talk about. Some of the changes have already started. Some of the changes that I want to talk about here are kind of in a planning state. The first change that you're going to start to see is some changing to the forum structure within the sports. The various sports, football, baseball, hockey, basketball, all of them have a little bit of a different structure to them depending on the sport itself. One of the things that I'm going to look to do during the month of January is look to standardize those. So if you go into football, it's going to have the same structure as hockey. Basketball will have the same structure as baseball. There are going to be some of the forums that are currently there may not be there at the end of the month. For example, the high-end trading forums. I don't see much of a need to keep things separate from high-end for regular trading. There was a need at one point in time. I don't necessarily see the need of having a separate forum that does the same thing just to delineate higher end cards. I think most of us can put everything into a buy, sell, or a trading thread, and I think most of us can delineate if it's a higher end or not. So that's the first thing that you're going to start to see. I don't have a finalized plan at this point of the structure, but I'm hoping to have something in place by the end of January. I may test it in one of the sports first. So look for something on that as well. The other piece that's going to be important to talk about is the other sports, specifically soccer, wrestling, and MMA. I am looking to split out all three of those sports into their own separate forums. Um, part of it has to do with reaching potentially a different audience that we haven't reached in the past. Part of it is there's enough popularity in all three of those particular sports that having separate forums for those three may bring additional traffic in, not only from a trading standpoint, but buying, selling, but also a discussion perspective. Right now, nothing's been split off as of yet. As we build the structure for the top 5 sports, and I didn't mention racing. Racing is going to stay as it is, other than mirroring the same structure as the other 4 sports. As we go through and we start building out MMA, wrestling, and soccer, it's going to have that same type of a structure. So those collectors who are active in wrestling, MMA, and soccer, you'll have a more dedicated spot to have your buy, sell, have your set building, and so on. Those pieces that we currently have in the other sports today. The other piece that I'm looking at making a change to, and some of you may have seen this earlier in the week. I know that there's been some issues with it, and I'm trying to tackle the issue where it is right now. I have an idea of where it is, but I have to do some more testing. I've actually been working with the developer for this particular mod, and that's actually what's known as a tagging mod. Giving it more of giving SCF more of a social networking type of a feel to it. So if, let's say, for example, you were making a trade with you had let's say a Mike Trout card, and you knew somebody that was a Mike Trout collector, well, you could tag them in a post, and they would get a notification saying, hey, somebody basically you're tagging that person. They can go in and they can actually see that card. The other piece along with that is going to be some hashtagging along with it as well. So if, let's say, you're putting together a trade list, well, as opposed to putting in Sabres or Canadians or Bills or Buffalo Braves. Yes, I did drop Buffalo Braves on you guys. You could do a hashtag on the team name in your list, and all of those would start to capture as well. And you as a user would have the ability to subscribe to the different tags. There are some things I'm looking at and trying to make sure that it's going to work the way I'm expecting it to. So those things are coming down the line. Those are coming. I'd like to have those launched fairly soon as well. The other piece I do want to talk about is some changes to the card cash program. One of the biggest questions I see on occasion, especially from new members, is what's card cash and how do I get a hold of it? I think what we need to do is let me start off with answering that question. There's a lot of different ways you can earn card cash on the site currently, and that's participating in contests. For example, Andrew has been running the streak to the card cash. So every time you get a streak of 5 games or more, you start earning card cash. The hockey team, right now we're running the season-long contests with the winner of the overall the series of contests is going to get a tin of the cup. But in a lot of those contests, the smaller contests, for example, the show and tell contest, you participate, you earn card cash, and that starts to add up. That starts to allow you to do different things. Whether you want to purchase cards from the card cash store, whether you want to get into the raffle for the Nick Saban auto that's currently going on. I'll talk about that in a moment as well. Whether or not you want to utilize that card cash to purchase something from a member that's willing to deal in card cash. There's a lot of different variables, a lot of different things that you have the ability to do with that. So from that standpoint, you have some flexibility within the card cash itself. One of the things that we need to do is we need to make sure we're giving you the ability not only to have the chance to earn it, but also have a chance to use it. So earning there's going to be different ways that we're going to look at earning, and then we're going to look at different ways that you can utilize that card cash that may not be in existence today. Some of it does require some partnering and some relationships with some vendors that right now we just don't have those relationships with. That's something I am working on the back end. I'm not really at liberty to talk about a lot of those particular pieces at this point right now. If you are watching this and you are an advertiser, or you're looking to potentially partner with SCF, by all means, reach out to me and we can talk and figure out what you're looking to do with that. But going back to the card cash itself, there's going to be ways that you're going to be able to earn card cash in the future that you're not able to earn the card cash today. So that's first and foremost. So look for that. Hopefully, I'm hoping to finalize those by end of January, maybe early February, and then have that implemented soon after that. There's some other pieces I do want to talk about and I do want to review. The first thing I want to review is some of the survey results, and I'm still in the process of finalizing some of the numbers, some of the metrics of the survey, and once I have those done, I will post those. This way everybody can at least get an idea of what people seen, what people said, what people are looking at, what people are utilizing. Some of the information that's been in the survey results have already directly impacted what we've done. For example, number of comments on adding enforcing pricing and buy and sell. A lot of that's actually come directly from the feedback off the survey. There are some pieces that we're looking to potentially make changes to. We're always actively looking to make changes, make things that we have today, make those tools better. The number of people like utilizing our tools that we have, the through to manager or through to mail tool that we have, the inventory manager. Most people love the inventory manager or the trade manager, and also the inventory manager. There are some people that want to use it that need to have a little bit more knowledge on how to use it, how to get started, and that's something that falls on to me to make sure that I provide you and we provide you that information to utilize the tools that we have available for you at SCF. So that's something that you do have the ability of looking at from there. So the survey results, I am going to be posting those survey results once I have a little bit more from there. Give me 1 second. I'm just getting a little bit of a glare here. Okay, that's a little better. It's actually kind of bright here today in Buffalo. So the next piece I want to get into is the disputes. Our dispute team is very, very good at what they do. I want to say that, and they're very underappreciated. It's something where they do a lot of due diligence to make sure that you are protected as a member if and when a deal goes sour. A couple questions that I have gotten from people, and that is, how do I go about if you're on an MSF tag, must send first tag? How do I get that off? Well, right in the SCF rules itself, we actually have a guidance on what we look for in order to get a must send first tag removed, provided it's not a permanent MSF tag. That's the key word. If it's permanent, it's permanent. There's reasons why you don't get an MSF tag if it's not earned. Let's be forthright and honest. Something happened down the line. So there is information that's there. It's in the rules, and it's pretty well spelled out. If you have questions on that, by all means, reach out to me, and we can definitely discuss and talk further on that. But again, for those particular questions, especially on the MSFs, the must-send first, check the rules. Everything's laid out there. Our team is very consistent in making sure that everybody that earns an MSF tag knows what the stipulations are, and potentially getting that tag removed at some point down the line. And a lot of it has to do with activity on SCF itself. Next piece I want to get into has to do with copyrights. A couple weeks ago, I actually had to shut down a couple of threads that had to do with movie codes. And I actually checked with my personal lawyer on this, just to make sure that the codes were or were not covered under basically the First Purchase Act. So basically what I mean by that is, when you buy a DVD, as soon as you buy it, you open it, if you choose to sell it, that's your choice because you own it. The code, however, doesn't fall under that, because that code is it is tied with the disc itself. So when you sell the code and you're not selling the disc with it, you're not selling it as a package. That's my understanding of the law on the copyright piece of it. With that being said, when you're talking about movie codes, when you're talking about Coke reward points and those pieces, those are not going to be allowed. And those have been shut down in the past, and we need to continue to enforce that from a legal standpoint. So that's something to be mindful of. The next piece I do want to get into, as I just lost my notes here. There they are. Over the next week or so, I'm actually going to be going back and taking a look at the old eBay Sellers Club that Mike had started back in 2012. Some of the members on that list are not active. Some of the members may have not even remembered that they've signed up for it. And when it was first put into place, it was offering basically discounted shipping or free shipping to SCF members, provided that the members had actually reached out to the seller and said, "Hey, I'm an SCF member and you're in their eBay Sellers Club." I want to reevaluate the program itself. I'm looking at potentially making some changes to that. Where if you want to have your listings added into the SCF forums, we can do that, but there's going to be some different ways and different structure that I'm thinking about running with it. One of the complaints I heard early on when I first took over was that there was a lot of eBay SCF eBay Club postings coming in all at once. There's actually things that are going on in the background that allow that to go through. I've gone through and I've turned those down quite a bit. So I looked over the last week, and I think there's been maybe 50 posts total over the last 3-4 days. So there's not much in the way of posting that's going on, which is a good thing. It's not cluttering up. If you take a look at the new post at the top left of the forum, you're not going to see a whole lot of new posts coming from the eBay Seller Club at this point, because I have turned that down significantly. I have done some testing as well. You may have seen a tag called SK Test if you're looking at in the eBay folders, or eBay forums, I should say. That's just me testing things out. potentially getting ready to do some offerings. So the eBay Sellers Club itself is not going to go away, but I'm going to want to change the way that we've done it in the past. I may look at modeling some different things, maybe with users that may have an eBay store. Just really thinking about that piece a little bit further and going from there. So if you have questions, if you have thoughts on that, by all means, reach out to me, and we can definitely discuss, and we can definitely talk about it further from there. The last thing that I do want to get into before I open this up to questions is April 8th through 10. For those members that live in the Greater Toronto area, Southern Ontario, Western New York, Eastern Ontario, or anybody who can get to Toronto, I have signed the contract and the paperwork to actually have a booth for all 3 days at Expo in Toronto, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I have not gotten. I should have the acknowledgement back. I'm hoping by the end of the weekend. There will be some activities that we're going to plan around being up there in Toronto with SCF officially for the first time. Looking at potentially doing some great some group breaks and talking about those pieces in there as well. Different, whether it's group breaks, whether it's trading, whether it's just me working with partnerships with Upper Deck, with Leaf, with some Canadian vendors to make sure maybe we can start to offer breaks a little bit more to our members with that are in Canada, because the cost is something you do have to think about. So those are things that are going to start to happen as well as Expo starts to draw closer. You're going to start to see some posts for different things that's going to happen over the 3 days. My initial thought is potentially having a group break. Also depending on the redemption programs that are up there as well, getting some value adds on doing the on the group breaks and going from there. The group breaks, when we do them, I'm going to try to keep them right at our cost, so this way it's not going to cost you any extra money or anything along those lines. So that's something to keep in mind. So that's there with Expo. So look for those pieces. With that said, I mentioned group breaks. One of the things that we're also going to do, and some of the changes that we're looking to make, is that we're going to really take a hard look at doing more group break offerings on SCF in general. For those of you who are basketball fans, I know there is an open group break going on right now. I believe it's for 14-15. I'm going to look at it really quick because I'm going to forget. It's for 14-15 Court Kings Rookie Edition. That right now is open and it's available. It's $40, which includes shipping. For anybody in the U.S., there's 10 spots. It is a snake draft. There are, as of right now, there are 7 spots officially left. I have not taken a look at the thread since this morning. I actually just have it pulled up on my subscribed thread list just to see what the name of the product was. I know that Don Ice Age has done hockey breaks in the past. But I think overall we need to start looking at potentially doing more breaks. We need to start to take a look at not only more breaks, but we need to start taking a look at doing better breaks, making sure that the breaks that we do offer on SCF are completely transparent, completely safe, because I don't want to have issues with that have happened on other sites where people are switching cards out or doing some shenanigans. I want to make sure that everything is upfront, everything is safe, everything is done quite well. Now, whether it's us doing it, whether it's partnering with a known qualified case breaker or other breakers that are willing to partner with SCF, that's something that is going to be up for discussion, but it is something we are going to look at further. And it's one of the other things from the survey that I did see, and I've heard enough in the past, that we really need to start taking a look at that and really making SCF the place that comes that you come to for really all of your hobby needs. Whether it's your buying, whether it's your trading, whether it's your selling, whether it's checking out the through the mail manager, make sure if there's any new successes, any new failures, making sure that you post your trades into our trade manager, because the trade manager itself, there's nothing else like it that's out there that I'm aware of. It captures everything. You don't have to worry about going through your PMs to try to figure out who you have to ship to, what are they going to get. It's all there for you. The inventory manager, a lot of great features within the inventory manager, getting players, getting checklists, getting things that are needed for you within the hobby itself. And one of the things you're going to start to notice a little bit more now as well is we're already starting to get some checklists directly, and we've been pretty good about getting those checklists loaded either the day of or prior to the release of a particular product, which is, I know it's something at times that we probably haven't had in the past. So I'm hoping to continue down that path and making sure that we get those things that we need to have. But a lot of those things, a lot of those changes are gonna need to take a little bit of time. I'll be forthright and honest with you on that. So first and foremost, some of the changes I've highlighted here, a lot of them are not going to change overnight. There's a number of changes, a lot of different things that we're going to be looking at doing, a lot of different things that need to be done that just simply cannot happen by snapping my fingers. It's going to take some time. With that said, I'm going to open this up for any questions that you may have. If you're watching, if you're observing, if you have questions, you can either post them into the social stream or into the chat window itself. I'm also going to check just to see if there's any questions that have popped up in my PM. Okay, and I just got a notification that if you're watching the live feed, you're getting an advertisement that's popping up every 10 to 15 minutes. So this is something that I will have to address the next time I do a live feed. I probably will have to look at it because honestly, I'll have to look at other options at this point. So I do apologize for that. I just got that notification. Thanks for letting me know, Luke. Other than that, other questions that you do have? Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually stop the recording here at this point. First and foremost, if you're watching live, I do appreciate you taking the time to watch this broadcast live. If you are watching this on YouTube later on today, please take a few moments to, if you have any questions, post them into this thread where the video is going to be embedded into. I will work on answering them as quickly and as diligently as possible. if I have all the information to potentially answer that for you. There may be some things that I may not answer only because I don't have a full and complete picture of what it's going to look like yet. One of the things I deeply believe in is being transparent, but I also believe in being honest and upfront. If I don't have an answer, I'm going to tell you I don't have an answer. I'm also going to say sometimes people may not like the answer I have, as with the buy and sell and the pricing on the buy and sell threads. Not everybody's going to like every change that's going to be made, but all I ask is that you guys, as members, if you have concerns, if you have questions, ask. That's all. That's the biggest thing I can. That's the biggest thing I can ask you to do. And the only thing that I can promise that I can do is at least listen. I cannot make any guarantees that your suggestion will be put into place. It's not fair for me to do that. So, with that said, I do thank you. I am going to stop the recording here.